set, go.
Welcome Rockhounds to the Cowichan Community Workshop at the Hub. This is a shared space we share with woodworkers, and we have a couple of days a week that we have just for us Rockhounds. So during COVID, we have been open briefly with limited numbers and cleaning and masks. But at the moment, we're waiting for Bonnie Henry's restart on the protocols, letting us more than one person be together. Anyways, we have a pretty good workspace. We'll pan around the workshop. A lot of the equipment you'll see is woodworking equipment. Our equipment we keep in a locked cupboard, and we do that basically to keep everything contained, but more importantly to keep the sawdust from the woodworkers off our equipment. And so when we arrive at the workshop, we bring out our equipment. It's all basically on wheels and easy to move. So we'll walk over to the our cupboard, which is, as I say, kept locked. And you'll see right at the start we have our grinding, polishing genies and pixies, which come out and when we work on them. We also have a little slab saw. We have polisher and what else have we got? Flat lap. We have equipment for doing what's that thing called? A Fordham for doing polishing and making holes in rocks and things like that. We have equipment for soldering and working on metal. Out in the workspace, we actually have a soldering station, which we'll show you more later. We have a rolling mill and we have a shear. And we've got pretty much most things to do basic lapidary and from the slab stage and metalwork. So I think probably now I will wheel out a polishing grinding machine, and we'll start doing a few little demos, just quick little ones to show you what the machines look like and what we do with the machines. I have a nice piece of crazy lace agate, and I'm going to use the trim saw here and cut the shape, and it's going to be noisy. So basically, I'm just trying to get as close as I can get to my marked shape. Okay, salvageable. Okay, well, you got the idea. And so you get as close as you can to the marked area, and then you go over to the pixie or the genie to actually grind for the next stage. And we save all our little bits, don't waste anything. So I will go over to the pixie now and take off a little bit more and start the cabbing process. And it has a series of wheels with a coarse wheel at the beginning, which is like an 80 grit, and then they increase in size. So you always start with your, well, most often, depending on your stone, but this agate's quite hard, so you'd start with your 80 grit, which is a coarse grit. And I'm just going to grind. It has to be done with water always. So this is a little spinner that keeps your wheel wet. And you move your stone always. You use the whole wheel. So I would be working on this coarse wheel for quite a while because you've got to get the shape, your shape first, and then you start angling to make a cabochon. I'm not going to be showing you the whole process, but you would work on this first coarse wheel for quite a while, and then as the process goes farther along, you work your way down the wheels. So I think that's probably shows you what the machine is about. And you have to come to the workshop to learn how to do a cabochon. So these are actually what we call a cabochon, and this is what your piece would look like after you'd gone through working on the Janie and the Pixies. You see you get a nice polish on that. It's sort of flat on the back, and it's got sort of a crown shape on the top. And there's another sample. This is actually Vancouver Island rock that I gathered out on a field trip. So it's the same. You see, it's got a high point in the middle and a flat on the back. And then you can do various things for settings. This is one I've set in silver, and that's a crazy lace agate. As you see, the silver needs polishing, so later on I will polish that piece to show you how we do that. Trying to get the stuff that's not in. And then there's another, you have to figure out what you're going to do with the settings. So this one here is a piece of jade that I've wire wrapped. So you see I've actually made a case with pieces of wire. So there's a lot of things you can do with your cabochons once you're finished. It's another coppery one. Sorry, I've got my tags on them there, but I'm trying to think what the name of that one is.
Picture Jasper.
Picture Jasper. So, and actually you can see it's got a little picture in it. So, I mean, we love rocks, and no two rocks are the same, and so it's lots of fun to work with them. Okay, so now I'm trying to shape a piece of metal. And that you can see I've made sort of a leaf shape here, but I will show you actually how you do sawing. This is a by hand type procedure. So I have a little piece of silver here, and I have a little place where I'm going to be sawing. You put a little beeswax on your saw blade so it is smoother. And I'm just going to cut, basically show you how to get started is the hard part. You saw straight up and down. And I don't have a mark shape. Normally I would have marked my shape, but now I'm just cutting a whatever shape, whatever's coming into my head. So that's basically how you have to cut out a shape. Labor intensive, And there are different sizes of saw blades, and this is a pretty fine one. I can't remember what number it is. Pretty boring video. And sawing does take some practice to get really good at it. I can't say that I'm really good at it. I see Michelle makes beautiful, whoops, something happened here. Oh, nothing, it didn't break. This is good. My saw blade just needs to be tightened up a little bit here. Whoa, and then I pulled the thing apart. This is what you're not supposed to do. But these things happen when you're sawing. Okay. And my saw, don't even look at it, it's all rusty. I haven't taken good care of my saw. I don't know what the actual name of this saw is. It probably has a jeweler's saw. Does that sort of sound right, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just got to tighten it up. It has to be very, very tight. And hopefully that's tight. Okay, back to the sawing. I'm just about done. I won't say anything because that'll be the next thing. The blade will snap. So we do have, the club does have a saw. We have a toolbox full of equipment that you might need, but most of us have actually purchased our own saws and a lot of the tools. It's just more convenient than waiting for tools. There we go. Not quite. And that's going to be good. Okay, so that's basically a shape, but not a very exciting shape, but I've actually cut out of metal. So the next thing I will show you is we have a shear which cuts metal, and that is this big thing, which you have to be very careful of because the blade is very sharp. And I'm cutting a piece of copper.
Just a minute.
Okay. Alrighty, so basically you just put your piece of metal in along a marked line. I mark a line because I'm not very good at eyeballing things. And then you just keep your fingers, make sure your fingers are well out of the way, and just pull down on the handle. And that basically cuts your piece of metal. So a very handy tool. I was afraid of this for a long time, but getting more comfortable with it. Another little thing is you have to remember to take the pin out, or it won't work. So I'll put the pin when we're storing it. We have the pin back in. And I'll leave it that way so I don't forget to put the pin in. And all these things are covered with boxes that, I think, who made those? Brent. I think Brent made these beautiful boxes to cover this up, to keep the sawdust off, because this is actually bolted to the workbench. This is our soldering station, and basically when you're working with soldering, you should have a exhaust fan, and you have to make sure it's plugged in. While we're here, I'll show you the rolling mill. Now the rolling mill is a fabulous piece of equipment. We haven't got the handle on it right now, but we keep that stored in the cupboard. It is basically for putting pattern on metal. So basically your metal goes through two rollers with either any kind of a pattern piece, like you can use a piece of lace, or you can buy patterns, and you roll it through there and it puts the pattern on the metal. So it's a fabulous piece of equipment. More of our machines here, a Genie and a Pixie, brand new. And I guess we'll stop there and I'll set up the soldering station. Okay, this is our durable polishing machine. which we just recently got, which is wonderful. And what I want to do with that piece of metal silver that I have, the edges are quite rough. Now you can hand file this, and I have hand filed it a little bit, but this machine with a unitizing wheel makes it a much easier process. So we're going to try that. So it's going to be noisy. You have to really hold on well with this thing, and take your piece of metal and fling it off into outer space. So that's one of the things that this machine will do. So I'd have to work at this quite a while to get it smooth enough and rounded enough. The plan with this one is actually to take a piece of wire and solder it on, but we're not going to do that today. I think one of the comments that we heard from one of our new members was they couldn't believe how long it takes to do a project. Now, of course, practice makes that faster, but when you're starting out, it can take a long time to make things. Okay, so that's a unitizing wheel. Now, I showed you earlier this piece of silver with the cabochon that needed polishing. It's like tarnished because it's been sitting around. And actually, I probably should cover my cabochon with tape, which I would do, but I'm not going to right now at the moment. I'm showing you how to do it. And basically we have polishes, and we have little wheels that will, and we have buffers. So I think probably I'll just use the pink, which is the fine polish, and it goes on. You just screw it on. Oh, it's the other way.
I always have to turn it on to see which way it's turning.
So there we go. Okay, so basically I'm just gonna go over this and see if we can get some of that tarnish. Now you can use a cloth too, or you can also put this in a tumbler with some cloth, polish it up. And there's also, this is dulling it up, nice. And this will actually heat up your metal a bit, so it can get quite warm. But it is taking the tarnish off. What I would do, I don't have this at home, I would just throw it in my tumbler with the cloth at home to get that little bit of tarnish off. So it's taking some of the tarnish off there. I'd have to do a little bit more work now on that, but that's what these polishing